When I opened the breaker box, my jaw hit the floor. There was a wire running straight from my meter to my neighbor's house, the same guy who'd been bragging all summer about his new heated pool. That's when I knew why my power bills were through the roof. But little did he know he'd messed with the wrong guy. What I did next had the whole block cheering. But let me start from the beginning. I'm Jake Carter. Just a regular guy from Ohio who fixes cars, drinks beer on weekends, and minds his own business. But for months now, one thing's been driving me crazy: my electric bills. I live alone. No giant fridge, no gaming PC, no wife blasting a hairdryer 24/7, thank God. Yet my meter was spinning like I was running a damn hydroponic farm in my basement. First, I thought maybe my old fridge was sucking power. Unplugged it for a week, no change. Then figured it was the water heater, replaced it. Nothing. I was starting to think some demonic energy vampire lived in my walls. Then I saw him. Coming home from a night shift, exhausted, pissed, dreaming of a hot shower and cold beer, when I spot a shadow near my breaker box. My neighbor Greg Morrison. Same guy who's always bragging about his connections and that shiny new Ford F-150 that we all know he's barely making lease payments on. He's fiddling with the box, but jerks away when he hears me. "Hey Greg, what are you doing?" I call out. He turns, face twitching, eyes darting. "Just checking the wiring." He slams the box shut way too fast. I play dumb. Nod. Let him think I bought it. But I'm not stupid. I wait till he's gone, then open that box. And holy shit! There's a wire. Neatly spliced. Running straight from my meter to his house. Suddenly it all made sense: why my bills were insane, why he got jumpy, why he'd smirk when I complained about prices. This rat wasn't just stealing power, he was making me pay for it. And get this, he couldn't even be bothered to hide it well. That was the first punch. But the real shock was coming. Because Greg had no idea who he was messing with. The next day, I decided to give Greg one last chance. Maybe he'd come to his senses. Maybe he didn't realize I was onto him. I ambushed him by the mailboxes. "Greg, we need to talk." He turned with that smug grin of his, like he always knew something you didn't. "Oh hey Jake," he sneered. "How are those electric bills treating ya?" I took a deep breath. "Stay calm, Jake. Don't make a scene." I saw the wire. "You're tapped into my meter." His face twitched for just a second before he burst into this fake, over-the-top laugh, like some bad TV actor. "What, you smoking something?" He even did this ridiculous stoner sway. "Prove it was me." My fists clenched. "I'm not stupid, Greg. Cut the connection and we'll forget this happened." The laughter stopped. His eyes went cold. "Listen, Carter," he leaned in close, "you can't afford lawyers, can you? So why don't you take your complaints and shove them up your ass?" He walked off, leaving me standing there shaking with rage. But the worst part came later. The smear campaign. A few days later, I noticed neighbors giving me weird looks. "Hey Jake," old Jerry from across the street called out, "Greg says you've been threatening him over some bills." I nearly choked. "What?" "Says you're too poor to pay your own way and blaming him." I saw red. This bastard wasn't just stealing my electricity, he was turning the whole neighborhood against me. Living in the dark meanwhile, my bills kept climbing. I started cutting everywhere, no heat even when it dropped to 60 F inside, boiling coffee water on the gas stove, obsessively switching off lights, and Greg grilling steaks on his electric barbecue, blasting AC when it was 70 outside, hanging Halloween lights in September. All on my dime. I felt powerless. But here's the thing, I wasn't about to roll over. If Greg thought I'd just take this lying down, he had another thing coming. Because this war? I was just warming up. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to one thing, how that bastard Greg was screwing me over and getting away with it. Tossing and turning, boiling with anger, I finally dragged myself out to the porch for some air, maybe a smoke would cool me down. Then I saw it. His house was lit up like fucking Times Square on New Year's Eve. AC units roaring at full blast, Christmas lights blinking along the porch in August. Space heater running despite it being 90°F outside, that same damn rug drying excuse from last week, and the kicker. I was paying for this circus. I saw red. My fists clenched on their own. I could practically feel my boot kicking his door in. Stop. Fighting wasn't the answer. For one, Greg could bench press me. For another, that's exactly what he wanted, me throwing punches so he could play victim and call the cops. No way was I giving him that satisfaction. But letting this slide? Not a chance. Operation Payback. Next day, I hit up Walmart for a cheap trail cam. Rigged it with a perfect view of the breaker box. Then I waited. Didn't have to wait long. 2 days later, Greg comes skulking around, didn't spot the camera, pulls out a screwdriver, and calmly reconnects the stolen wires like it's his God-given right. Got it all on HD video. Beating my head against the system, marched that footage straight to the power company, expecting them to rip Greg a new one. Nope. Mr. Carter, this is a civil matter, said the desk lady without even looking up. Take it to the police or small claims. So I tried the cops. They laughed in my face. You serious? Over electricity? Sort it out yourselves, your neighbors. The light bulb moment that night, I sat at my kitchen table, nursing a beer and plotting revenge. The system had failed me. Time for alternative solutions. Then it hit me. Greg's whole game was greed. He stole power because he hated paying. So I'd make sure he paid. Big time. I grinned into my beer. That sonofabich had no idea what was coming. I could have just cut his illegal connection. But where's the fun in that? No, Greg deserved something special. I knew his weakness, the cheap bastard would sell his grandmother for a chance to skip paying an electric bill. Well, I made damn sure he'd pay. The perfect payback. My buddy Mark had 3 crypto mining rigs. Those power-hungry beasts sounded like jet engines sucking down electricity. Let me borrow them for a week, I said. Are you insane? That's my paycheck right there. I'll throw in an extra $500. Mark rubbed his chin. 3 days. Final offer. More than enough. Showtime. I carefully connected the rigs to Greg's stolen line, using his own damn splice. Next morning, the neighborhood woke up to what sounded like a 747 taking off in Greg's yard. He came stumbling outside in his tighty-whities, eyes bugging out. What the actual hell? His meter was literally smoking from the load. I stepped onto my porch sipping coffee, all innocence. Oops, my bad. But hey, your power, your bill, right? The aftermath. 1 week later, $5,000 power bill arrives. Greg tries disabling the rigs, padlocked, threatens me. Security footage says high runs to power company, gets fined for theft instead. The cherry on top. His wife packed up and left when she found out about the stealing. Now the whole block greets him with, "Hey Greg, need help mining Bitcoin?" Epilogue. I got reimbursed for every cent. Bought that snap-on tool set I'd been eyeing. And Greg? Now he pays his bills like everybody else. Moral of the story: steal electricity, get your wallet obliterated.